let's just say a word of prayer before we start. Father, we thank you for this evening. Thank you for your constant presence and your guidance. And we bless you for the gift of creativity. We pray, oh God, as we learn today, you breathe new inspiration into our hearts in the name of Jesus. And we ask, oh God, that everything we've been learning, when it's time to put them into practice, that the result of everything we've learned so far and we'll be learning will reflect your love and will inspire others to see you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, quite clear, very clear.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, well, bless God. So today we are having somebody very special. I'm glad to know this person personally. And he's very passionate about his craft. And I've learned a lot from him. So please just, if you have your pen and your paper around, you have a lot to learn today. So bro, so without wasting much time, I will just read out the profile of the person we are having today. So can I have the profile on the screen, please, Bro Dodson? Okay, so we're talking about storytelling and branding today. And the guest speaker for today is Courage Obayuwana. He's a rising Nigerian filmmaker known for his versatility and dedication to storytelling. His passion for cinema began in childhood, influenced by both Hollywood and Nollywood films. While studying computer science at the University of Benin, Obayuwana honed his filmmaking skills through his involvement in a campus fellowship media unit, leading to his debut short film, Fejiro, in 2018. Obayuwana's debut feature film, Kiboro, showcases his meticulous approach to filmmaking, from detailed pre-production planning to hands-on involvement in editing and color grading. The film is part of the first feature project, an initiative by Steve Lucas and Dotun Olakunri, which aims to mentor emerging Nigerian filmmakers. Obayuwana is also skilled in color grading, editing, and cinematography, talents that have significantly contributed to his filmmaking success. With Kiboro, Obayuwana has established himself as a promising director in Nollywood, and he continues to aspire to tell impactful story. So without wasting much time, please just, with your reactions, help me welcome our speaker for today, Courage Obayuwana. So Courage, you can take it up from here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martins. Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes.
All right. So first, I would like to thank the organizers of this event for creating such opportunity for filmmakers to learn and have some conversations, because I believe these are the little things that when you get to hear people speak and you take notes from them, you get to hone your own craft. Some of these things we were not privileged to have access to classes like this when we're coming up. So I'm really happy that the organizers are reaching out to professional filmmakers to train a couple of persons. So I'm really grateful. So thank you so much, Watergate Church, for this opportunity. Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Martins. So yeah, my name is Courage Obayuwana. I'm a filmmaker. I started while I was in school. Then I joined my campus fellowship called Christian Fellowship International. I was there as a media team member. Then for like 2 years, I became the media head. And then I realized that filmmaking and holding camera is something I think I want to do for a living, even though I was studying computer science. But sometimes I wish I stayed there because of the money that tech people are making now. But anyways, we have to follow our passion and our dream. So I have done that through filmmaking. So I hope to impact a little bit of knowledge to everyone here. And I hope you guys take one or two things. I know 1 hour is not enough to learn about story development and directing. I've been learning for like, next year will make it 10 years. And I'm still learning every day because learning is continuous. But I'll just try my best to summarize everything that I've known. And from my points, you can then try to research on some of the key things I'll speak about today. So I would like to share my slide. Please let me know if you guys can see it.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll be speaking on
Yes.
the story development and directing. Like I said, my name is Courage Obayuwana, and before I start, I would like to show you guys the movie trailer for my feature film called Kilboro. It's just to show you how you can learn basically. I never went to film school. I learned everything I know basically from YouTube. So it just goes to tell you how you can learn so much by just listening to other filmmakers speak. So I didn't go to film school. I learned almost everything online from YouTube, from podcasts, from articles. So I'm going to show you the result of what that did in my life. I'll show you the movie trailer after this slide. After the trailer, we can then begin properly. So let's go. Okay, so that was Kilboro, my first feature film entry into Nollywood industry. And we shot that last year in August in Port Harcourt. And it was an amazing experience, actually, to be able to finally bring together all that I've been learning for all these years. You know, I'm someone that really believes in opportunity meeting preparation. So I prepared so much before. I was lucky to have an investor that was willing to spend over $100K to trust someone as young as me to make it such a project that I'm really grateful they did. And it just goes to show you how you can learn filmmaking by yourself. You can learn from people just speaking, and then you can also create something amazing. So today I'm just going to be talking about story development at first, because that is the first thing basically you need to do as a filmmaker if you're going to be a director. Sometimes most directors get to write the scripts, and I think I got to understand that you guys had a script writer some weeks back. So I don't want to focus on how to write a script. I'm trying to focus on, we already have a script ready. And as a director, how do you interpret, how do you develop that script from pages to the screen? So that's basically what we'll be talking about today. How do you translate those words written on papers? How do you translate it into visuals on screen that is engaging? Because at the end of the day, filmmaking is visual storytelling, yeah, using pictures, using sound to convey emotions, to make people feel a certain way. So your role is basically as a director is to get a script and then refine it to your own vision. How, if, for example, if I'm Colade now and I'm supposed to direct a script, how do I express myself as Colade in this script? How do I express myself as Esther in this script? So when you have a, because most times before you get to direct, the production company calls you and say, okay, we have a script for you to direct. And you, before directing the script, you have to create what is called the director's treatment. And part of the things in that treatment is you telling them why you are the right person to tell the story. So it's very important that every director has to put a little bit about themselves in the story that they are making. For Kilboro was a story about, it's actually on Amazon Prime, in case you want to check it out after the meeting. It's a story about an abusive father who his child wants dead because the child is trying to free the mom from an abusive home. So basically, he's doing everything possible to raise money to kill the father. And when I got the brief, I'm someone that came from a very peaceful home, a very loving family. And I was asking myself, how do I get to relate to a domestic father? Because my dad never raised a hand on us. So instead of focusing so much on the abuse, I focus so much on the love my mom has for us and the love I have for my mom, how I can literally do anything for my mom. So I focus so much on the love of this child for his mom to the extent where he has to find money to kill his father. So as a filmmaker, you always need to connect to the story, okay? You always need to find a way to connect yourself. That's the very first thing. Your script is ready. You have 150 pages of script getting ready to be filmed. First things first, read the scripts, understand what the script is about, and then ask yourself, how do I tell this story to make sure that I am the author?
I also guess in our times and days, God can and
So yeah. So the purpose is to enhance the narrative, characters, and visual storytelling on the screen. So basically, that's what we're going to begin today. How do you elevate those scripts to screen? So first thing is script analysis and breakdown. Deep dive into the script, understanding the core of the script, identifying the heart of the story and its themes. So what are themes? Themes are the core message you want to pass from the story. For Kilboro, the themes were family, domestic violence, betrayal, and love. Those were the themes for Kilboro. So once you've gotten a script as a director or an intending director, you first of all do a breakdown. What is this script trying to say? What is the message being passed across? What are the themes? Because every single decision you make moving forward would be based on the backbone of how well you can break down your scripting. Because to me, I feel like filmmaking, it's 70% pre-production, 20% production, which is the filming itself, and then 10% for the editing and post-production. So this is the meat of the whole process of directing. If you don't plan well as a director, you can not make a good product, I'm afraid so. Because it's just like an exam. You need to read and prepare before you go to the exam hall. So if you're a director and you just get a script and in 2 days' time you want to go and shoot, it's going to show that this person was not ready. For Kilboro was a script that I had since 2021, and it was in constant development because the more you read and you do what is called a script conference where the writers, the executive producers of the film, that's the people financing the film, we all come together in a room and read the story and try to look for loopholes. And once you find a loophole in the story, you then have to ask the script writer to go and rewrite to fix that loophole. So everything boils down to the script. The script is your blueprint. The script is your manuscript, which is why most times you find directors are also writers. I learned a little bit of writing when I was trying to make my first short film, Pedro, because the truth of the matter is, if you are going into directing at first, you would have to prove that you can do this. And sometimes you may not have the money or the finance to hire a script writer to write the script for you. So you might have to write it yourself. So while I was in school, I went on YouTube learning how to write scripts, how to break down what does script heading means, what does script description means, how do I write dialogues, So I learned all these things, and then I wrote my first short film, and I produced it in my final year. And to God be the glory, that was the film that this producer saw on YouTube and said, okay, if this boy can't do this by himself, then we can trust him with much, because with little comes more. If you can manage little very well, obviously, God will give you something big for you to handle. You just have to prove yourself that you can first do it. So what I usually tell new filmmakers is, don't give the excuse of, I don't have money for camera, I don't have money for this. You can film. We all go around with our Android phones. You can write a simple dialogue scenes between two couples. One of the easy things I usually tell my filmmaker friends is, if you can successfully film a dialogue between two persons, you know if you can direct. So just have two friends in your living room, use your mobile phone and just film them and let them speak to each other, and then see how it looks like on camera. You don't always have to wait for the big things to happen before you start training yourself. So yeah, scripting is very important. After you guys have broken down the script and you are ready to film, we know that, okay, this is the script we're working with that has been locked down. We now move into character arcs. What are character arcs? Character is where you analyze the character's motivations, the relationships, and the development. This is very key if you're going to have a story that has characters that are very relatable, that are very understanding, people that you can connect with. You wonder when you watch a movie and the character is crying and also you are pained. I know when I watched Gladiator for the first time as a kid, when he died at the ending, my whole day was just ruined because I felt bad, because I was able to connect so much with this character. So as a director, once you've gotten the script, you list out all the actors or all the characters rather for this story, and then you start getting your motivations, because as a writer, most times the writer would have done his or her job by getting his character's backstory, so he or she can write the script well. But as a director, you have to reinterpret it yourself. If you have Boro, for example, in my film, is a man who, number one, he's an abusive man. Number two, he's into so much gambling and debt. Number three, he drinks a lot. Those are three characteristics of this guy. And then as a director, you now start to break it down. Someone that drinks a lot, how do they behave? How do they walk? How do they speak? Someone that's an abusive partner, how do they command presence when they get into their houses? And then you start taking these little notes. And if you read a script and you realize that this character does not change, like there's no proper development, he starts ground zero and end in ground zero. As a director, you have the right to now call your writer and say, see, I've read the script, it's an amazing script, but I don't see any development yet on this character. The character feels flat. And then you and the writer can then work hand in hand to see how you can either put in new scenes that can show the three-dimensionality of a character. So as a director, it is your job to always do this breakdown before you start filming. Always know your characters, because at the end of the day, when you get on set to direct your actors, which we're going to get to in the slide, if you have not done your proper homework, when you go on set, you end up losing your set, because everybody will start giving you inputs, giving you suggestions, and then everybody's now the director and you're just confused. You're now, at the end of the day, you're now shooting what other people want instead of yourself. So the script breakdown is always important when you're trying to develop a story that you want to move from script to screen. And then the plot structure as well, ensuring the story flows logically and maintain audience engagement. When you are, but I have friends who send me their script, and when I'm reading it, and if I feel the urge to sleep, because I don't like reading, I rather listen to podcasts than read. If I feel the urge to sleep when reading your script, I take note on the page and take note of, okay, this is what, when I was reading your script, I felt sleeping, this, meaning there was nothing really engaging happening. So you might want to go and rework on it, because like I said, the script is your blueprint, yeah? So if it is boring on the script, there's no magic you want to employ during filming or during editing that will make it interesting. So you have to get it right on the script. If you look at Nollywood movies that do well, you always see them attribute credit to the writers, because the writers have done something great already, and you as the director, you came on board to translate it. So the writers and directors relationship are very, very critical. You guys have to be in sync. You have to be able to create a story that is ready to be filmed. So after you guys have done you understand the core of your story, you've done your character arc, you've done your plot structure, then you go into scene breakdown, which is now the main cocoa. This is where most directors stand out. This is where most directors fall short. One, identifying key scenes and their purpose. In every film, in every script, there are scenes that are more important than others. For Kilborough, there's a scene I'm going to play later in the slide where he got back home and he had an altercation with his wife and son, which was the last straw for the child. And after the altercation, the child was angry and decided, okay, I need to kill my father. That was a very pivotal scene. And that scene gave me sleepless nights during pre-production because I knew I had to find things to make it high stake. Yeah, I need to find things to make this scene interesting because it is basically the inciting incident. So when you're reading the script, the inciting incident is the part of the script that propels the story into the storyline. Yeah, so the movie starts normally and then something happens. Either the character loses his mother and then the character decides, for John Wick, for example, he lost his dog and then he decided to go and avenge the death of his dog. That was inciting incident, the scene where the armed robbers came to his house to beat him up and kill his dog. So for every scene, it's an inciting incident, and that's a very important thing that you need to take note as a director. How do I film this? Because if your inciting incident is boring, people may not want to continue. Because if the scene that is supposed to be the main cocoa of the whole film is boring, why would I want to keep watching? Which is where many Nollywood movies lack, because you can't even tell what is inciting incident. The movie just starts flat and ends flat because nothing inciting, nothing is pushing the plot, nothing is giving the plot a meaning. So as a director, first things first, understand the important scenes, write it down. Know that these are the scenes that you need to do a proper breakdown. Find their purpose. Is the purpose of this scene? Is this supposed to make people cry? Is it supposed to make you hate the lead character? Is it supposed to make you root for the underdog? And the funny thing is that if you don't write these things down, you forget, because when you're reading the script, it's quite exciting. You're eager to want to go on set and start directing people. But if you don't write these basics down, if you don't plot it down, you end up going on set and you forget. So that's one, identifying the key scenes and their purpose. Number two, determining the emotional beats and the pacing. So what are emotional beats? Emotional beats, because even as humans, when we are not flat, we get angry, you get into a crowded bus and somebody's pushing you to the edge of the bus and you're angry. And then that's one, you're angry. You get down, you go to the office, your boss yells at you. That's two. So that's kind of how emotional beats work here. So every character, you're not supposed to be angry from the beginning of the movie till the end. There have to be something that happens in between. There have to be joy coming in at some point. There have to be frustration. There have to be sadness. There have to be emotional breakdown. So find those emotional beats and also make it as a key emphasis that, okay, if I know that Mr. A is going to come into the scene, Mr. A has lost his job and is coming home and he's sad and heartbroken, what elements would show that he's sad? Because sometimes the script may just write, Mr. A comes back home, drops his briefcase, takes off his tie and sits down and is sad. For you as a director, it's your job to elevate it. How do you elevate sadness more than what's written in the script? How when he comes into the house, how does he drop his bag? How is he removing his tie? How is he just removing his tie and sitting down and thinking, or is he going to eat white rice without stew because he's outside minded? Just by the time you start sitting down to think about how these actions affect your character, you then realize that most times, even as much as the script is a blueprint, you end up doing so much to the script that when the movie is done and people watch the movie and the script, there's a whole lot of differences, because your job as a director is to make that script better. Don't forget, yes, the script is a blueprint, but you're supposed to develop it from a blueprint to something masterful. So you have to try your best to always enhance the script. Then third one, highlighting potential challenges in execution. So when you've gotten the script, you've done your breakdown, it's now your job to also highlight the challenges. Because as a director, most of the things you do on set is to answer questions. To be honest, most of what you're doing on set is answering questions. The wardrobe person is coming to ask you questions about what the character is wearing. The props person is asking you what type of phone should the character use. Should he use an Android phone? Should he use an iPhone? Recently I got to discover that in Hollywood movies, the bad guys are not allowed to use iPhones. So that's like a clue. If you watch a movie and somebody's not using, and the person is not using an iPhone and is pretending to be a good guy, chances are he's a bad person, and you find out in the end of the movie. So those are little things that you need to now start saying, okay, what are the potential challenges? If he's using an iPhone, does anyone has the kind of iPhone he will be needing on set? Because say, for example, he's a rich guy cannot be using an iPhone 7. So most likely it's going to be using iPhone 13 Pro and above. So you start problem solving while you're reading the script. The location says rider is on a boat, on a speedboat moving very fast under Third Mainland Bridge. That's what's written on the script. Then you start thinking, how do we get the crew under Third Mainland Bridge? How do we get the boats? Yes, your producers are the ones that will provide these things, but you as a director, you have to think and have plan B, have plan C, in case these things does not happen. Let me give you an example. If you get to watch Kilboro after this meeting, the first scene of Kilboro was supposed to take place in 2 different locations, an interior office and an exterior office. But when we got to Port Harcourt and realized that because of budget constraint, we couldn't build a second set. On the day of shoot, the producers told me to find a way to make those 2 scenes happen at the same place. So when you watch Kilboro, you see a man being tortured behind 2 people having a conversation. You realize that initially those conversations were supposed to happen in an office, not in that environment. But you have to think on the spot as a director. You have to be able to answer people's questions, because on set, time is money. So if you don't plan, if you don't foresee these challenges and it comes up on set, you will be stuck. And then, like I said before, you will lose your set because people start giving you suggestions. And once they start giving you suggestions, they know that you don't know what you are doing. So basically, as a director, you're supposed to be the head on set. You're supposed to be the head of the creative people on set. The same thing applies in church media as well. If you're directing a live concert, for example, and you've not pre-planned for obstructions, okay, what if we're using wireless transmitters for the cameras to the live studio, what if the transmitters are not working? What is our backup plan? Do we have HDMI cables to roll cables as a backup? So it's the same thing. You have to problem solve as a director. So if you've done all of this during your pre-production, you should have a solid foundation already that will propel you into making a masterpiece. Now you're done with your script breakdown analysis, not the entire, because like I said, 70% is you working on your script, converting that script to visual. So all what I'm teaching right now is still pre-production, yeah? So visualizing the script, you need to create a visual plan. Yeah, creating a visual plan. Number 1, cinematic style, deciding on the film's visual language, e.g. the tone, the color palette, and the movie lighting. So now you've read the script. Is it a sad story? Is it a romantic story? Is it a war film? Is it a faith-based story? How do I convert this text into a visual language? Three things that will mostly guide you is the tone of the film, is the color palette, and is the lighting. What is the tone? The tone is basically every single thing that you get to see once the movie starts. The tone is what you see when the movie starts, and it comprises of the sound, it comprises of the environment, it comprises of the things we hear ideally once we start filming, once the movie starts in general. So basically that's just how you need to find a way to like create a tone for yourself. And also in your tone, you have the color palettes. What are color palettes? Color palettes are the colors that you see in your film. The combination of the colors your characters are wearing, the environment they are standing in. So it helps you make your visuals have sense. It makes your visuals, it creates a visual harmony. We would talk more on this when we get to this art of cinematography later on. But as a director, you need to have all this information in your head so that if you hire a DP that is not as good, you can be able to guide him or her. Because like I said, as a director, you're the head. You're supposed to core. You're supposed to like control or micromanage every other crew member to make sure that your vision is being passed across. So your palette says a lot about your film. If it's a romantic film, you know that, okay, my palette is white, is pink, is red. And then when you're going for location scout, you have that at the back of your mind that, okay, we need a venue that is white, a venue that has red chairs. What else can I say? Like the frames that we can see here, for example. For John Wick, you can see the colors are red. cream, teal, and blue. So it just creates this orange and teal is mostly used in action movie. Yeah, if you can imagine, if two couples are in the back of this car, you can see my laser pointer. If two couples are in the back of this car, you're calling it a romantic movie. It feels kind of off because one, you won't like a romantic movie like this. Two, you won't most likely not use this dark colors because it's romance or it's comedy. It has to be bright. So you need to understand a little bit about all of this topic. And like I said, we don't have enough time to go deep. So I'll try and make the slide available after the class so you can go and study color palettes. This is a whole topic on its own. It is very, very, very robust because the more you make movies, the more you realize, the more you learn how to incorporate different color palettes in making sure that your film is making sense, making sure that your film's visuals are unique, they are seamless, and they are easy on the eyes. So lighting, lighting is another part of it, like I explained here. From the look of this frame, you can tell that it's an action film because it's harsh lighting in the background. You can see the rain is not welcoming. So if you won't light a romantic film like this. So if your DP is lighting a romantic film this way, you can easily tell him that young man, it's a romantic film, and we've had conversations about this. So as a director, basically, you need to learn a bit about everything. You need to learn a bit about cinematography, a bit about music, a bit about editing, which is one thing that really helped me growing up because while I was waiting for the opportunity to direct my first film, I was editing other people's job. I edit full-time, actually. I work remotely for a company in the UK where I edit videos for them. So I'm an editor. I know how to tell story via editing. I also learned cinematography. I've shot movies for top directors in Nigeria as well. Because I wasn't just going to sit down and wait for a director's job to come and land on my lap. I had to do things that would push myself towards that field. And so because I have learned all of this, it helped my visual language in the films I make. So it's very important as a director that you try to learn all of this. And these are the things that you do in your pre-production before you go on set. You can't, because the costume person needs to know the color of the clothes the person is wearing for the entire scene. So you need to know. The set design person needs to know the color of the wall, the person's house. What's the color of the wall? What's the color of their chair? What's the color of the DOP or the cinematographer needs to know what does the lighting look like in your head space? When you think about the scene as a director, what do you see visually? Are there orange light? Are there white light? Are there blue or red light? So you need to pre-plan all of this when you're developing your story from script to screen before you can actually tell stories are visually appealing. Storyboard. If you don't take anything away from today's class, please take this. You need to storyboard because filmmaking is something you can make an entire film during pre-production before you even step on set. When you get the opportunity to direct a commercial, a TV commercial, you realize that most agencies will send you a storyboard because in as much as they trust your ability to be creative, they want to guide you. And storyboard does exactly that. It guides you through your scene. It makes you focus because once you've seen the entire storyboard play out in your head, you can easily go on set and tell the DP, let's set up for this shot. When we're done, let's set up for the next one. Let's set up for this. Let's set up for the phone close up over here. It's a guide, it's a blueprint. It's a visual blueprint, just like the script was visual now, because we're now seeing the characters, we're now seeing the environment they're in. And the reason why I added this other storyboard here is letting you that you don't have to be the greatest artist in the world to do a storyboard. You can literally just do stick figure, as long as you understand that here is a close-up of Sarah speaking directly to the camera. And if you see this on set, you remember what you were planning to shoot, and then you can easily tell everybody this is what we're shooting next. And people will think, oh yeah, like the greatest director in the world. But then again, it all boils down to how well you practice before you go on set. Some of my mentors like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, they do storyboarding, intensive storyboard. They'll also graduate from something called previs. Previs is when you get to animate the storyboard. So you get to watch the animation of the story happening, and then you just go on set to go and replicate it with cameras and human beings. It's as simple as that. I did the same thing for Cubo, right? I did a complete storyboard for all the. Now you may not have the time to do for the entire scene, which by it is strongly advisable you do that, yeah. But for your main scenes, like I spoke about, those scenes that I know that are defining to your plot, it's good to prepare and over-prepare for those things. So you can also do a storyboard to ensure that you don't miss out on any shots. Because sometimes when you go on set, it's very chaotic and you forget that, oh, we're supposed to do an establishing shot to show the environment. There was a scene I shot in Kilborough, a scene where the husband came back home after beating the wife previous night. And the line, he said something that, why didn't you go to work? And the woman said, I didn't want people to see the makeup you did on my face, which is the beating. And that line was very pivotal, but while I was on set, I forgot to film a close-up like this to show us the injury on her face. Because a day on set is very chaotic. We have shot different scenes, and I didn't storyboard that scene. And when I came to that scene, I just shot it. It was still a beautiful scene if you get to watch the film, but I missed that detail. And it was haunting me because when during the editing session, the EP, that's the executive producer, was particularly asking that, why did I not shoot that shot? And I had to just tell them, oh, I'm sorry, it was an oversight. And these are things that if I had storyboarded that scene, I would have remembered. So storyboard is part of what you do when you're planning to develop your film from script to screen. And that thing again is shortlists, which is what is written under here. So most times people just go with just shortlist, which is the text, low angle, cameraman, panning up at column. People can just, you can sometimes, if you don't want to draw, you can just write it. Wide shot of Jennifer entering the room, close-up shot of Jennifer's phone, reverse shot of Jennifer smiling at the person's text message. Once you write them and you're on set and you have them in your iPad or you have them in your phone, you can just quickly go through them so that you don't forget shots that are very essential. Because like I said, when you're on set, it is very, very chaotic, and most times you would need to have all of this in your arsenal so you don't mess up like I did in Kilborough. So shot composition, planning camera angles, movements, and framing to enhance the storytelling. So when you're compositing for shots, we'll also talk more about this in cinematography class. You need to understand shot sizes. What do they do for your film? What do they do for your story? We have extreme close-up, yeah, which is like the eye. So using this human being as a figure to just make you understand most of all the shot list, yeah. So extreme close-up is of the eyes. If the eyes are important for that scene you're telling, you need to show it in an extreme close-up. It doesn't necessarily have to be a human being. It can be an extreme close-up of the person's phone. You want us to see a text message of the husband cheating, for example. So you do an extreme close-up of the phone so we can see the text coming in. Close-up is mostly used when you want to capture emotion on the person's face. If the person's sad, if the person's crying, because if you shoot someone crying in a long shot like this, the viewers can't see. Even if you can see the person, the viewer is distracted by all the things in the environment. There might be a car passing behind. There might be school children running by the side of the road. But if you want us to focus on the emotion, that's when you use a close-up. Yeah, so as you are reading your script, you are taking notes that, oh, for this line of dialogue, I want the camera to be on a close-up because the character needs to feel remorseful when he's saying these words. Trust me, if you don't do it like this, if you go on set, you may forget. No matter how good you are, you may forget because there are so many things happening at the same time while you're filming as a director. Medium close-up is used to show emotion and a bit of the environment. Maybe somebody's going to pass at the back that is very important to the story. Same thing as the medium shots. There are different types of medium shots. It just depends on how much of the environment you want to convey. Then most times your long shot or your wide shot is usually used to establish the location. If you watch Nollywood movies a lot, you see it when they're establishing that Ikoyi link bridge. Once you see that bridge on a drone shot, you know that this is Lagos. And people have used it so many times. So that's an example of an extreme long shot. So you see Lagos Ikoyi link bridge, you know that, okay, we're in Lagos. You see a wide shot of a bank, you know that, okay, we're at a bank and this thing is going to happen in the bank. So you use your wide shot basically to establish your location. If it's a King's Palace, if it's a church, your wide shot helps you establish where we are. So the viewers understand that, okay, we're in a church. And something I would like to just chip in there is that to have a generic story, sometimes you don't need to always start with an extreme wide shot. It's usually overdone here in Nigeria, where if you want to go to Igwe's house, We first see the palace from outside and then we go inside. Sometimes you can start from extreme close-up and then walk your way back to the end. Maybe somebody is angry with the king and the person storms away from the palace. Then your camera follows the person and then you get to now see that, oh, this is where we were. So try to be, but the thing is, these things can't just come to you on set. You have to plan them while you're reading the script. You have to plan them during the development of your script before you can actually achieve them. Because if you go on set thinking you can be creative, it's hard. It's easier as a director to over-prepare and then get some creative rema from God on set, and then you are now changing things because you're already prepared. And for you to go there unprepared and you're now looking for rema, the rema may come. Yeah, it may come, but you might end up wasting people's time. And filmmaking, time is money. If you miss a day on the schedule, it costs millions, it costs thousands. So nobody will hire a director that doesn't know how to keep to schedule, which is why it's very good to plan as a director. Then location and settings. You've read your script. The script is happening in a creek or a ghetto. You now move with your manager. You guys go and look for locations that you as a director, because to me, I don't know about other people, but I'll encourage you that while you are reading a script, try to visualize what you are reading. Try to fantasize and see the images in your head. So location says ghetto area. You start thinking, where are the ghettos in Lagos? Ajegule, Makoko. As you're thinking all of this, you're writing it down. And when it's time for location scouts, you already have an idea of the kind of locations you want. So you are going to Makoko, you are going to Ajegule. And the thing is, if you don't know what you want, everything looks like the right thing, which is true. If you don't know what you want, anything looks like the right thing. But if you've planned in your head that, okay, I want this place to have rustic zincs, and then someone says, let's go to Ogun State or let's go to Ibadan, you already know that, yes, Ibadan has rustic zinc, Benin has rustic zinc, this may work. But if you don't know and just say, I want a house, I want a community, then any community can work because you did not streamline your vision. So you have to choose the right environment. The right environment to influence the mood of your story, to influence the authenticity of the story. Everybody liked Gang of Lagos because they went into different neighborhoods. For Kilboro, we flew to Port Harcourt like 4 times just for location scouts. Because we'll go the first time, we'll see some locations, we're not really impressed. We'll come back to Lagos or back to Abuja and then work on the script and then fly back to Port Harcourt to look for other locations, because as a director, I knew what I wanted. And I already looked for samples, because in this life, there's nothing new under the sun. The directors have already done whatever you think you know in your head. Directors have shot it already. So there are pictures references online that you can look at as, okay, this is how I imagined this person's living room to look like. This is how I imagined the bread factory to look like. And then you use that as a reference to move around looking for a bread factory that matches what you've seen. So the location matters a lot. This is the interior location for Kilboro, because they're a poor family. And one thing you understand about the ghetto, because when we went to Port Harcourt, we were opportune to go to the ghetto and see people living their lives. They use bright colors in their houses. You can hardly see white. Some are painting their house yellow, some teal. And this is where the color palette I spoke about came into play. Teal and brown, they complement each other on the color wheel. So it gives this unique setting. So it's not an accident. This is not a mistake. It was the color I told the set designer. This chair, it is not a mistake. I gave them picture references and said, this is the kind of chair I want. This is the kind of color I want, because this is the house of the person. And if I'm being fair, if you go to my Instagram page, you will see the before and after of this. This is a town hall. It's an empty church that we created into somebody's house and painted the walls with. All these are wood. You can see this very old AC. It's a town hall in the village, and just because I couldn't find a house that has the movement I've already envisioned in my head by reading the script, which is why planning is important. So, like I said, if you don't know what you want, everything looks like a right option. But because I knew what I wanted, going to Port Harcourt, we could not find a house that would give me exactly what I want. So we had to build. And we know how crazy it is to build. So we looked for an empty church and then we recreated all of these you are seeing. And if you watch some of the scenes you see now, it looks like their home, because if I don't tell you now, you won't know. So that's the bottom of location scout. Like I was saying Makoko earlier, you look at the environment, this is a story that happens in the ghetto. Where can I see a place that looks like this? And then you look for a picture reference like this, you give it to your location manager, and they go and find locations for you and come back with pictures. And then if it works with you, you agree, you jump on it, and the rest is history. So all of these things I've been saying since the beginning of this class is very simple. You need to plan. You need to make your film before you go on set. That's how you develop a story from script to screen. It's not just by, I have a script, let's go and shoot. No, there are so many things you need to do. And if you get them right during your planning phase, it's going to be very difficult for your movie to flop, which is very, very true. So I think after this, I'm gonna play a video before we go into the next segment, which is how do you get the best performances from your actors? Because now we're going into directing properly. How do you direct your actors to get amazing performances? I'm just going to play this short clip where I know some of you have seen the movie, but I'm going to play the clip anyways. And so we just watch and get inspired. So that was an amazing performance. But before we go into it, let me just also show you everything happening on this set. You can see the meticulous planning, the makeup on her, the costume. All of these are not accidental. It's what the director saw in his head, and he had a conversation with his wardrobe person and said, this is what I want. This is how I want the actors to speak. And then when you go into conversations with your actors, you get to tell them, okay, when I read the script and I feel like these characters in this location will speak this way, and then you either hire a dialect coach to train them, because in Kilboro, in Idima Okoje, she's a very posh actress. She doesn't speak pidgin. She had to learn how to speak pidgin for the film. And that's because I told her I want a character to speak pidgin as a director. So you need to know all of this before you move on to your set to start filming. So directing, storytelling, true performance, working with actors, character interpretation, collaborating with actors to deepen character portrayal. So this is very pivotal because actors are the people you see on sets. The image behind is from Kilboro. I won't say so much, I don't spoil the film for you, but these are raw emotions. I remember her telling me that she can only do this once, that we'll have to film it well, because to cry, actors give so much to perform on set. They become vulnerable. They access dark places in their hearts that make them cry, especially when you want them to cry in a movie set. So sometimes they can't go through that emotional pain multiple times on camera, which is why you need to know what you are doing. You need to plan. You need to know that, okay, and this was an example of what I'm saying. I already had different short lists for this, but she told me she can only do it once, which means I cannot cut and say, let's change camera. And no, we had to film everything once. So I worked with a very smart DP from South Africa. So he knew how to frame the entire thing to capture everybody's emotion while whatever is happening here. Like I said, I won't spoil the film. So as a director, once you've read your scripts, you think people in your head that you feel like can portray these characters. And then next step is to reach out to the actors. Oh, I have this script and I feel like you'd be an amazing fit for it. And also, let me just say something. A good actor cannot play every role. No matter how good you are, there are some roles that is not meant for you. If you play the role, it will feel flat, no matter how talented you are. So you need to, as a director, you need to understand this and not just go for, oh, this is the happening person now. Let's bring in Timini. Timini can make this work. Let's bring in this guy for the TV commercial. Yes, he's an amazing actor, but he might not be amazing for that scene. So once you're properly prepared, you probably read, you've done your character act, you understand the kind of person that you feel needs to play the character, then you reach out to the person. Something I always advise directors is this: when you reach out to an actress or an actor, yeah, and you're giving them the script and maybe they're interested in working with you, try to have a conversation or relationship with them before you go on set. Try to be their friends, try to have conversation about the characters. Let them explain to you how they interpret the characters. Sometimes directors have this ego problem where they feel like everything they are doing has to come from the director. What I did in Kilboro, and I realized that it works, it's collaboration, because really acting is collaboration. You're collaborating with actors as a director. So I allowed them to read the script. Then we had a meeting online. I was like, tell me how you feel like this character is supposed to be played. And then they will tell me. And if it doesn't match with what I'm doing, I'll find a creative way to tell them, okay, this is how I picture the character. Is there a way we can meet in the middle? Because as a director, two things you need to learn. You need to learn leadership skill. You need to learn psychology, because you need to know how to handle human beings. The way you speak to Mr. A is different from how you speak to Mr. B. So sometimes you need to just find a way to massage people's ego to make sure that, okay, you are giving them ideas, but their thinking is their own idea. Because sometimes people will most likely do things based on what they believe. They will do it better if they think it's their own idea. So basically, after I've had a meeting with the actor, they have told me how they want to portray the character, what they think the character should look like. And I'm nodding my head, I'm saying, yes, okay, cool. But I already have my own vision. I can now suggest to them, while I'm reading the script, I felt like your character should have a dreadlocks because he's a gang leader that smokes ganja, or I feel like your character needs to be very calm because she's a widow in the church. She's a widow in the church that just lost her husband. So I feel like this is how she'll be dressing because she doesn't want to expose her body. She'll be wearing black most of the time. Basically, just giving the characters motivations because actors judge you based on your knowledge of the script. If they look at you as a director that don't know what you are doing, they would give you basically anything because they feel like whatever I give him, he will take it. He doesn't have a choice. But once they've had a conversation with you and they understand how detailed you are, they understand that you have a backstory, which is something I missed during the script analysis. Try to always have a backstory for your characters. As humans, we all have backstories and it helps them. So when you tell a character that, okay, in your past life or 4 to 5 years ago, you were expelled from school, which is why you're jobless right now. And he will not take that and say, okay, if I was expelled from school, which means that some things I wouldn't know how to do. I may probably not know how to dress like a corporate person properly. And then in the scene where the guy needs to go for a job interview, you can show him dressing up in a very strange way because the actor knows that his backstory tells you that he's an illiterate. So there's some things he can't do properly. So always try to have a backstory for your actors because at the end of the day, when you're directing actors, most of the things is motivation. What is the motivation for this character to do what they are doing? If you have a pastor that is preaching in your movie, maybe it's a faith-based movie, and the pastor got his powers from a shady source, you give him the backstory. The character understands that, okay, I have this dark past. Maybe when I'm preaching on stage, maybe I can't say some certain words. Maybe I can't use the name of Christ. Maybe I wear my cross upside down. Maybe there's a hand gesture I do. Because once you fuel your characters with motivation from behind, they kind of find a way of flowing through. Kilborough, for example, this character, his backstory was he was a militant in Port Harcourt, stealing crude oil, and one of their missions, he got shot at the back, and it affected how he walks. So from the beginning of the film, you see him limping, and you wonder why is this guy walking this way. Then you now get to find out later in the film that he was shot at his back, which is why he walks funny. So those are backstories that you can inject in your characters that gives them motivation to make your characters feel different. Because at the end of this, people are watching your characters. You can have the most beautiful lighting, the most beautiful cinematography, the most beautiful set design. But if your actors' performances are poor, people turn off, people won't watch it because we go to movies to escape reality. We go to movies to see people fall in love passionately. We go to movies to see people suffer and see how they triumph at the end of the day. We go to movies for success stories. So you need to find characters and motivate them to give performances that basically make their roles believable. Rehearsals, refining dialogues, delivery, body language, emotional expression. So yeah, you have to rehearse most times. If you have the chance to rehearse before going on set, perfect. If you don't, it's fine. Like I said, Kilborough, we had so many people that came in to read for the role. Amazing actors, but they couldn't get the role not because they were not good, but the chemistry was not right, or we didn't just feel like they were good for it. But Philip Asaya and Inedima Okoje were perfect to read that table read, and we end up going with them. Blocking, planning actors' movements within the scene to reflect characters' dynamic and enhance narrative. Very important. Once you're on set now and couples are fighting, you then tend to channel reality. How do couples fight in real life? Most times when you're arguing with your wife, you may be angry and then you walk out of the room and then she follows you to the living room to continue the argument, or she stays in the room and then you go back to go and continue the argument. So once you visualize that and your script says Mr. A and Mrs. B are fighting, you can then block it. Blocking basically means how do you allow your actor interact in the environment. So you can say let them start the conversation in the living room and then they argue and go to the bedroom. From the bedroom, the wife goes into the bathroom, she's removing her makeup while she's still arguing. All those little things add the dynamics compared to just having them sit down on the living room chair and argue. It's boring. and which is what most directors do in Hollywood. It's boring to just have people sit down at the dining table and argue and argue. Most times when you're having an argument with your significant partner, you may lose appetite, and it makes more sense if you get up and leave the food than to just sit down there and argue and argue. It just becomes boring. So blocking is very important. How do you want your scene to play out? Then dialogue refinement, adjusting the dialogues for naturalness and impact. Like I said, she has never spoken pidgin before. She had to go and learn how to speak. And even if you watch the film, sometimes you notice that her pidgin is not as deep as his. Same thing with the boy that played Elijah. He's a body from Lagos. He had to learn how to speak pidgin, but you could still tell because we didn't have enough time to refine his pidgin English. So sometimes it calls for your actors to speak languages that they are not prepared for. So you have to train them beforehand. So actors, your collaboration with actors is very important. It's very key. Collaboration with your writer, collaboration with your actors, those two things, you cannot compromise on them. And like I said, try to build a relationship with your actors before going on set. I don't know if I have much time, but I'll just try and go through as quick as possible. So enhancing your storytelling with technical elements. So we've spoken about the creative part, yeah, breaking down the script and working with your actors. Those are all verbal and creative stuffs in your mind. But now I'm going to talk about technicalities, your cinematography, the sound design, your editing. And like I said in the beginning of the class, most of these things, I'm just giving it to you as things that you need to go and learn more about as if you want to direct movies well. So cinematography, go and study more about it. Sound design, go and learn how sound enhances movies, how lightning strike can say something different, how footsteps are important, how if we hear the sound of a busy market, even before we see the market, we know that the next scene coming up is a market. So sound design is important. You cannot have characters working in the market and then we're hearing sound of a classroom teacher teaching or something. So you need to understand the importance of sound design and how they help you elevate your story. Cinematography-wise, using lighting to convey mood, highlighting character, create contrast, employing specific techniques. Like I said earlier, close-up shots to show emotions, moving camera. Do you move your camera or do you just let your camera sit down and capture the actors? It all gives a different feeling. A moving camera gives a different feeling from a still camera. If I'm sitting down on the chair and then the camera is just static and I'm thinking about my life, what you feel is different than if I'm sitting down, the camera is moving slowly towards me and I'm thinking about my life. It gives a very different feel. So understand how camera movement enhances your story, how it gives different emotional feeling. Then editing approach as well, the pacing and rhythm of your film. Is your film too fast? Just like I'm very fast because I've been talking very fast. Is it very fast or is it calm and slow? Is it boring? Is it too slow? This is one of the hardest part of filmmaking, how to pace your movie in the way that your audience won't get bored because the movie started so well and then it became very slow and then became so fast. So you need to find a way to balance it so people are engaged from beginning to the end. Scene transitions. How do you transition from one scene to another scene? Is your plan to always cut to Ikoyi Link Bridge because you want to go to a new scene? No. Find other creative ways to transition your scene. You can use sound to transition your scene. You can start hearing the sound of a market before we get to the market. You can slap somebody and then we enter a different scene when someone pours somebody to water on the cloth. So just look for creative ways to always make your film unique. So when people see that, okay, I know this is this person's style. This is Martin's style. This is Tolu's style. This is how he films. This is how I know Tolu used to do his transition. So most of the things you need to think about them. They don't just happen on set. If you want a transition to plan from scene 1 to scene 2, if you don't write it down, you go on set and you forget or you want to shoot it properly. So always plan all of this before going on set. So this is a scene from Keyboard. I just want us to watch. It kind of encompasses everything I'm talking about in terms of sound design, actors' performances. I used rain in this scene to emphasize, to heighten the tension. Thunder is striking, rain is falling outside. There's a bit of commotion happening. The cinematography, the movie was lit very dark because one, the guy could not pay light bill, so they were using normal kerosene lamp in the house. So it needed to be dark to feel real. So I'll just quickly play it, and if it's too long, I might pause it at the end, but just watch and see how employing everything I've just said can take your scene from being normal to being heightened. So for context, he got back home and he's angry that his son refused to greet him, and then he's getting angry because he's just getting back from the beer parlor and he's drunk, and his wife is trying to calm the situation down so he doesn't escalate into physical abuse. But yeah, let's watch it again and see. So that was me trying to implement everything I've just said here. Cinematography, the scene looks dark, the sound design, there's a storm outside. It's obviously fake. We had lights, our camera department doing a strobe light to add fake lightning effect, and then we had the sound design people put in thunder sound during edits. So all of these things, it's something I got when I read the script, and I was able to plan with every department to let them understand that, okay, this is what and how I've seen this scene and how I want it to play out. At the end of the day, we ended up getting what you guys just watched. I don't know if I have time to play this. It's another perfect example of sound design. If you've seen the movies Jurassic Park, where the dinosaur approached them and, they're able to create tension and fear before we even saw the creature coming. So sound design really helps elevate your storytelling. Collaborative story development, working with the character, working with your writers, making changes while maintaining story integrity. As a director, you get to find out that the movie script is not finally locked. Even while you're shooting, you're still editing the script, you're still changing new things. So always be open-minded that the scripts can still change even when you're shooting. Collaborating with different departmental heads, like I said before, your editor, your production designer. If I had not communicated well with people that I shot that scene with, there have been a mess. There wouldn't have been a lightning effect. There wouldn't have been a proper house and set design. So I feel like it's always good to collaborate with people that are more talented than you, which is an advice I'll part you with for this course. I think we're coming to an end. Always try to work with people that are more experienced than you. Work with a cinematographer that knows more than you. Work with a production designer that is more experienced than you. It just basically helps you make better productions. I can't say more than that. Always work with people that are more talented than you in the industry. It helps you create amazing content. So key skills for story development and directing: creativity, developing original ideas and innovative storytelling techniques. Always read, watch other directors' approach to filmmaking, go to YouTube, listen to directors do their breakdown, and just basically learn from them to see what you can do to also improve your storytelling. Number two, communication, convey your vision clearly to the team. You need to learn how to communicate. Whatever is in your head, people can't see what is in your head unless you say it. So always learn the habit of communicating perfectly well. It gives you so much leverage. It makes everybody be on the same page when telling the story. Then leadership, like I said earlier as well. managing, you're going to be managing different people. There's a costume person, there's a makeup person, there's a sound person, there's a cinematographer, there's an editor, there's a props person. So you need to learn leadership. How do you manage all these people to come together and create something amazing? Because there are times when tension will build on set because of people are fighting, people are stressed. Once stress is involved, now people are very easily agitated. So your level of leadership will help manage the situation most times. So learn how to be a leader, read books on leadership, read the Bible. The Bible is a very good book that teaches you how to be a good leader because one, Christ was an example of a good leader. So learn to be a good leader. It really helps you in managing your set. And number two, problem solving. Quickly resolve unexpected challenges during production. Always learn to be 2, 3, or 5 steps ahead of everybody on set. Know the backup. Let your backup have a backup, because it's not like if, it will definitely happen. A costume person may burn your character's cloth while ironing it by mistake. You need to find a solution because you must film. So always try to be proactive. Read books about problem solving. Do activities that pushes your brain how to solve problem. Play Candy Crush, play chess. Just do things that make you active when it comes to problem solving. I think that's the end of the slide. Like I said, 1 hour is not enough. And I feel like if you have the slide, you can go and read more on those topics I've talked about. And that will be all for story development and directing. So we'll have room for questions and answer. Thank you very much, everyone.
Wow. This is a lot. I've learned I've been on set for quite a number of times, and I've worked on big projects too. But I'm seeing storytelling and direction from another angle this evening, and I want to say a big thank you to Courage. And like you said, filmmaking or shooting as a director, everything happens from pre-production. If you don't plan, then you might fail. So it is very important as a director to plan, because everything you're going to be doing on set, everything should have been written down. So when you get on set, it should just be a walk in the park for you. Because if you don't write most of these things down, like if you don't have a storyboard, your short list and every other things, it's very easy to forget these things when you get on set because of different challenges and the fact that you have to manage a whole lot of things on set, and everybody depends on you. Every other department depends on the director, because you are literally the one giving direction of how the film is going to be. So thank you so much, Mr. Courage. I think I'll just open the floor for Q&A, questions and answer for people who have questions. Nobody's saying anything.
Thank you so much, Mr. Courage. This is so insightful. My question is this: you mentioned that you make use of YouTube while growing up through your process learning and all that. What are the resources you're able to get your hands on YouTube? We'd like you, if you don't mind, to share with us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dotun. Really glad you enjoyed the class. So there's one channel on YouTube that I feel like if I give you just that channel, you guys are set already. And it's called Studio Binder. That's the name of the channel. They have amazing concept on directing. Amazing. Cinematography, directing, writing, script breakdown, how to shoot your opening scene in a movie. It's endless, and they keep adding new content every week. So it's called Studio Binder. I'll type it in the chat session. So just check them out on YouTube. Then also there are things I randomly just search. I usually just search for movies behind the scene, and then I listen to the director's conversation. I follow Hollywood Reporter. That's on that one. Let me write that as well. It's called Hollywood Reporter Roundtable. where you see a group of directors sit on a round table and just discuss their process. By watching all this content, it gives you a very huge library for you to always reflect on when you have a project coming up. So yeah, those are the few I can remember now. But trust me, you can easily, YouTube is like Google. You can just search any topic I've spoken about. Color palettes, just Google, search it on YouTube, and you see so many content about color palettes. Search cinematography, search storyboard, you see so many content. So yeah, if you just follow those steps, you would most likely see a lot of content on YouTube. I hope I've answered your question, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
So any other question? Or nobody's asking questions?
No questions, sir. We will just go and learn more, but this is very good, sir.
Okay. So Mr. Tolu said no questions. I believe we've learned a lot from this session, and it's a good place to start as upcoming directors. So once
Hold
again,
on, sir.
okay.
Yeah, sorry, I just remembered something. I wanted to ask Courage. Who can you? Okay, let me say it in another way. Who are your top 5 non-Nigerian directors that you like their work?
Top five. Steven Spielberg. Because I love his approach to storytelling through camera. He does very nice camera movements. I love David Fincher. He's an amazing director. He did movies like Seven, Gone Girl, which is my favorite movie of his. He did Zodiac. He's a he did Social Network, the movie about Facebook. He's a very amazing director. So that's 3. I would say Quentin Tarantino, basically because I like how bold he is when he makes movies. He's not afraid. He did Django Unchained. I don't know if you guys have seen it. So that's for Quentin. Then the final one would be Denis Villeneuve. He did the Dune movies, Dune Part 1 and Part 2. He did Arrival. He also did Sicario. Yeah, so those are my top 5 there. If I should add number 6, Christopher Nolan should be there because he's basically the hottest director in Hollywood right now. He did Inception, he did Oppenheimer, he did the Dark Knight trilogy. So those are the directors I because they are not just figureheads, they understand the craft, they understand the arts behind directing. And if you search them and listen to their conversations on YouTube, you always go home with something important. So yeah, those are my top 6 directors in Hollywood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tolu. Any other person with any other questions? We're not asking questions. So. Okay. On a lighter note, how many movies do you watch per day, Mr. Courage?
Sometimes one. People think I watch a lot because if you have my personal contact, you always see me post on my status on WhatsApp movie scenes. I don't watch. I watch a lot and I try to learn and know a lot about them. But if I'm not working, I'm mostly watching like one a day. I try to always watch one a day because it's very good because it's the industry I'm in, so I need to learn everything. So at least one. And I watch series most times because if you're watching series on Netflix, you get to just binge watch you can binge watch like 2 or 3 episodes at the same time and you can learn so much from it. So basically one movie a day. Is it too much?
And at all, it's not too much. As a filmmaker, you need to watch movie. You need to even as not just the director, whatever department, maybe an actor, a costume designer, makeup, sound, you need to watch movie and
Yeah. Sorry, I missed that out. Yeah, I should have said that actually. It's very important. You need to watch. You need to love movies, and if you love movies, you watch them.
yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for this session, and I believe we enjoyed this session, and we have take something to take away from this session, and we'll be ending this section by saying a very big thank you. Please, can we just reactions or just in the text message, or you can just on your mic for 1 minute, 1 second or 2 seconds, and just say thank you to Mr. Courage for honoring our invitation and sharing with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Mr.
so much.
Courage.
Really appreciate. Well
Thank
done.
you, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then when we shoot
Insightful. Very great to have.
maybe we can bring you on board if you are not too busy.
Yeah, hopefully I would like to just come and supervise. I would like somebody on the team here to direct. I'll just see what our class and how it has been able to, help people tell stories.
No problem. We'll look forward to that. Wow. So thank you everybody for joining in, and we would like to call it a day here.